Hi, I'm Jasper today from England, Telford, a town no one has ever heard of. So it's March 1st, which means it is St David's Day, or as it's known in the UK, Welsh Day. Here's the Welsh flag. As you can see, it has a dragon on it. I love dragons, so I thought I'd tell you a dragon story or myth each of the countries my family have hailed from, which is England, Scotland, Wales and Ireland. I shall tell the stories with the strongest in my bloodline, starting with English. So without further ado, here's the story of St George. So the story of St George is quite simple. There's a town and a dragon. The dragon is terrorising the town, burning houses, taking sheep, killing people. And what the town folk think is the best idea is to get their prettiest virgin and tie her to a stake outside of the dragon's cave. But what happens is St George comes and sees this girl and thinks, I'm going to help her. But then the dragon comes out and he has a fight with the dragon, eventually decapitating it and saving a girl in the town. And they all rejoice and live happily ever after. The St George's Cross is the English flag, so the Scottish Primary is the second strongest. Here's their dragon story. Now, this story isn't about the Scottish flag. I don't know the story behind the Scottish flag, but this is still quite an interesting story. Now, a dragon took shelter in the mountain in Scotland, and it was very vicious. If a traveller ever sort of passed through her valley, she would jump down on them and rip them to pieces, because this dragon doesn't have wings for some reason. So obviously a lot of people got eaten by this dragon, and the people were afraid to attack her. That's how bad she was. People were afraid to attack her. West St George you need him, right? But they did get rid of her eventually, and how they did it was this sort of sea captain person came with his boat and built a bridge to the shore where sort of mountain was with barrels and tied them all together and everything, but they had spikes on them. And then what he did was he got flesh and burnt it on the boat. The dragon smelt the flesh eventually and came over, and because this dragon doesn't have wings, it sort of came along almost a bit like a snake or a low-legged lizard, and over the barrels, just getting stabbed and stabbed and stabbed by the spikes. It was never able to get to the meat or flesh, as the story describes it, and it died of its wounds. I feel a bit sorry for that dragon. Now, the neighbourhood were happy. They felt at peace at last again. But what they didn't know is this dragon left her whelp in the cave, and this whelp became a fully grown dragon. And what do fully grown dragons do? You guessed it. And had her own babies. And these babies were kept in a corn stack at the foot of a mountain. A farmer found these babies and thought that he would just burn it. He would burn the corn stack and everything around it, and as his dragons can't fly and they were babies, they burnt to death. Now you could hear their screeches from all around the mountains. They echoed, and the mother came running, but she was too late. They had burned to death and it was just horrible. But what is worse is what that mother dragon did. What this dragon did was she went to a rock and lay flat on her stomach, and then continued to thrash her tail against the rock until she died. And that is the Scottish story of the dragons. The rock today is still known as Dragon Rock, and Benvale House stands on it. Benvale is the name of a mountain because that's what they gave the name of the dragon. Okay, the Welsh in me is the third strongest, or the second weakest, depending on your point of view. And here is the story about dragons for Wales. Now this is also the story of the Welsh flag, like the English one was the story of our flag. So the story of the Welsh flag, because the Welsh flag is green, white and then a red dragon on it. See, red dragon. So it starts off with the town, obviously, because that's where the dragons seem to attack. And from the northeast, so like Norway or whatever, a white ice dragon comes and freezes all the town, killing people, doing dragony things. So what happens is the Welsh red dragon, because apparently the Welsh have a dragon on their side, comes out, and these two dragons have a really big fight. They fly up into the air, grasp claws, sort of dive, a bit like eagles mating, and then eventually the red dragon wins by ripping the white one's throat out and decapitating it, apparently the only way to kill a dragon. And then the red dragon goes back to its cave and falls asleep, and to this day apparently has never woken up. But I reckon that that dragon is asleep and did wake up, but went to England to find a new cave.